Dickens, dope black therapist, and I'm coming here to talk about something that happened to me that reminded me of that movie Get Out, right? I was I think if many of you had seen the post I did, I put a picture of the Get Out post where there's a picture of the guy and the woman and the father's in it. And I'm one of those people where I see people. I see culture, I see people, I see gender, I see identity, I see all of that at the same time. But I honor whatever's in front of me, whoever's in front of me, right? Whatever energy you come with, I honor that and I match that energy. So anyway, like long story short, this past weekend I was in my hometown of Baltimore, which is why I'm wearing my Ravens shirt. I was in my hometown of Baltimore, minding my business, right? Trying to find some salt like everybody else. And I ended up going to McDonald's to get breakfast. Then I went to Safeway, which is my favorite place in the world. I love Safeway. Then I went to next to Staples. And for those who are in Maryland, who shop in Ellicott City, they're right by each other. So I went to McDonald's and then I went to Safeway, then I went to Staples, and then I went to Target. So at each store, I was buying lots of stuff because I was trying to find salt and some other things that we needed. So as I was coming out of Target, for those of you know who Target, there is this street. So if this is the store, there's always a street right here, the main street. And then you go from the main street and you turn into the parking lot, right? But there's a main street so that you can go into the parking lot. So here I am with my little Honda, putting my little card, and I see this big, expensive truck that I cannot afford. I'm coming out. This is Target. I'm coming out, and this car almost is about to hit this truck. It's about to hit me. It's like 1,500 something. I don't even know what it is. But all I knew was it said 1,500, and I was like, ooh, that's expensive, and that's going to hurt if it hits me. So I'm moving up a little bit faster to get out this person's way because I know what it's like to drive a big truck. I used to have an Acura Atlanta style. And I know that with those big trucks, you need a lot of space to make turns. And with those big trucks, when they back up, you can't see sometimes who's behind you, which is why a lot of children get hurt because the parents, there's a blind spot with those trucks. So anyway, I move up really fast, get to my car, and beside my car, there's one spot available. You know where this is going, right? So there's one spot available out of all the parking spots. And I am parked right in the front. So open up my back, opened up my driver's door, and then I opened the passenger door behind the driver's door because remember I've been to Staples, Safeway, now I'm at Target. So if you're like me, I'm doing some serious professional shopping. I'm packing my stuff up. And then out of the corner of my eye, the same car that I sped up so I wouldn't hit me because it was making a big turn. I realized this is the street, was making a big turn into the parking lot. And I'm thinking they're going this way, but they're making a big turn and then they decide to move forward so they can come backwards into the spot. Now, where I'm at, my doors are open. My driver door is open because I'm putting my purse in the front seat, like all people do who want to be safe, don't be robbed. Safety tip: when you get in your car, put your purse or your wallet or whatever you're carrying in the passenger side of the driver's side because that's the door that's usually locked. So that's the PSA for everybody. Anyway, so I get in so I'm looking and noticing that this big truck, instead of going to the right, has decided that it wants to spot right beside me. So I'm watching this truck. This is Target, right? It's making the turn. And in order to get into the spot where I'm at, it has to go forward into the disability spot, and then it has to back up. And as I'm putting things in, I say to myself, self, clinician, woman of esteem, educated woman, mother self, daughter self, I know this person is not going to back up, seeing me with both my doors open and my back hatch open on the Honda Accord. And the person is pulling back, and I see the person pause because there's a young woman about maybe between 17 and 19, Caucasian woman, of non-African descent. So the person pauses, and I'm like, okay. So the person keeps moving back, and then there's an older woman, maybe about in her 60s, non-African American, Caucasian woman, stops. Now the person is moving back faster. Now remember, I said my doors are open, my driver's door is open because I put my purse there, right? And the door behind the driver's door, the passenger door is open, and the hatch is open. So this person is moving back, and I'm saying, whoa, this person's moving too fast. They're not waiting for me to close my doors. So I scream, hey, stop. You're about to hit me. And the person rolls down their window and says, I gotta get out the way. I can't be staying right here because I'm gonna hit people. And I'm saying to myself, aware self. I'm looking at all the parts, doing all my good work, and I'm noticing that this person stopped for two people. And this person's moving back with this huge truck. And they're not moving inch by inch. Now they're accelerating back a little bit faster, as if they're trying to make sure that no one else gets the spot, which no one can get the spot because they're so big. And I'm screaming, stop. You're going to hit my car. You're going to hit the doors that are open. You need to wait for me to put the rest of my stuff out of my cart because I had so much stuff that I had to go from the side, the back seat side to the hatch. Right? Husband's nightmare, but a woman's pleasure. Lots of stuff. So he's fussing and still moving at the same speed, right? And fussing at me. So it occurred to me, and I'm speaking to this person, and I'm speaking very nicely, very professionally. And some of my friends, if they had heard me, would say, Candice, you're code switching. What does that mean? I'm not saying the words that I would normally say if this was someone else who I was in another culture. And I'm saying, sir, you need to slow down. You're going to hit my car. Sir, can you see me? Right? Because I want to make sure that I'm not in a blind spot. Right? The person's still moving back. So then I scream, you have to stop. I'm not invisible. So then I walk towards this person's car and I get to the window and I bang and I say, you got to see me. And at that moment, this person turned a bright red. And the person who was doing all this, yelling, da, 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 pulled the window up and stopped. And I said, if gentlemen, wait. I'm a person. I matter. You got to be able to see me. Because after a while, when you move back enough, you're able to see who's close to you. Right? When you're further away, you can't see it. And I said, I'm a person. You're going to hit me. I'm a person. I said, you stop for the other people and they were further away, but I'm a person. And I said, I'm not finished. So you need to wait. And what frightened me, you can see I'm still activated listening to this, right? Because this is what trauma is. That even though this incident happened last Sunday, today is Friday. And as I'm thinking about it, how do I know I'm activated? My speech is fast. My throat feels tight, a little sweaty. I mean, that could be a personal summer or it could be a warm room, whatever. But I remember thinking, I'm activated and I'm scared because no one's with me. I'm by myself. And even though I'm screaming and people are stopping and watching, it's not like that show. What would you do? Remember that show in 2020? No one's jumping in, no one's stopping him. Anyway, but because I confronted the person stopped. I then put all my things in, and the person then moved back. I closed the doors. The person then moved back, right? And the person I made eye contact, and that was it. So I take my cart and I go towards the front of the Target, trying to be a good person, returning the cart from where I came from. And as I am returning the cart, what happens is there is a woman who may be about 20, 30 years younger than me, who's of African descent. I don't know what part of Africa her ancestors are from, but we're about the same complexion, just younger. I say cute, I just said younger. And and I'm just joking. And what's interesting is that as I was pushing my cart, I saw that she had a cart, but they had a cart. And I asked the person, hey, do you want me to take your cart with me to take to the front? And the person's like, no, 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 no. So I put my cart in Target, came back out, and I saw that the person was taking their cart and was putting things in. I guess they were going to return it. So I said to the person, hey, I just had an incident with the person that you're connected with in that car. Taking a breath. And it was like being in that movie. And it's so funny because I can remember being in college at College of New Paltz. Back in the day, we called it New Paltz College, but now it's a College of New Paltz or New Paltz University. And I can remember having a teacher named Robert Moore, and he was a Black Studies teacher. And it was mandatory for you to take Black Studies courses. I mean, it was one of the rarest schools where they mandated that you had to take one Black Study course during your tenure at that school. Some schools just make it so that you have to take a multicultural course, but you take one Black Study course. And I remember saying to him, I don't know I'm in this class because, civil rights is over and, we're all equals and we can race and Jesse Jackson's running. That I just told my age. And I was like, I don't, it's not like that before. We can sit wherever we want to. We could be whatever we want to be. I'm going to be a therapist one day, da. And he said, He said, so you think that the world is equal? And I said, of course it is. I said, Jesse Jackson's running. And, we made some strides in this world. And he said, Candice is your name. I said, yeah. He said, what does your name mean? I said, my name is Candice. I was named after this horse that my father loved. And he said, you were named after a horse. And I said, yeah. And he said, I said, my nickname is Candy, but, everybody calls me Candice in college. And he said, no, that's not about right. You were named after queens. Candice is the title of a queen. So instead of saying Queen Cleopatra, they call Candice Cleopatra. There are a series of Candices. And he said, just like you're disconnected from your name, you're disconnected from a reality that you have not seen because you have youth in your eyes. And I'm thinking, what does he know? It's an old man. Stuck in the 60s, still wearing a dashiki. What's he know? Right? Here I am, older, with a whole natural. So when I spoke to the woman, I said to her, hey, like get out, like bing. Hey, sis, look, I just had an experience with that person in the car. And she said, oh, yeah, I saw it. And I said, this person stopped for two people who did not look like me. And she said, oh, no, yes, so she said, but this is not a black and white thing. And I didn't say it wasn't a black and white thing. I said, but I do know that it was an experience that had racial overtones. Because the moment you treat me differently than you treat the people who don't look like me, it's racial overtones. And then she said beautifully, and it brought me back to my 18-year-old self. He's not a racist. He's a father of my child, and he's a Christian. And I said, so Christians can't be racist? I thought it was Christianity that caused Africans to submit and that they converted Africans to Christianity. And in the name of Christianity, they sold people. And she said, this is not about race. This is about him winning the spot. And I said, yeah, but you saw him stop. Because this is what I know, right? As a professor, as a teacher, as an educator in counselor, education, and supervision, what I know is that sometimes we don't want to see racism, right? Even as our clients, our family, we don't want to see it. We just want to see that somebody made a mistake. And she said, ma'am. And I said, no, sweetie. I didn't use the word racist. I said, my experience with this person was the father of your child, you say, is that if he can treat me this way, someone he doesn't know, then what do you think is coming next for you? People will teach you who they are by how they interact with other people. And I said racism is within the institution of our culture. It's hard not to know it, not to experience it, not to learn from it. I'm about to go to Africa, Gambia. So if you are someone who has been to Gambia and you got some advice for me, please put in the comments. I'm about to go to Gambia. And I know that I have been in America my whole life. And I know that when I get there, I'm going to be the American. Man, it's been 2 hours since I ate. Let's take this so long to get some water. right? I know that I'm going to carry some of my American ways with me. I have to. I've been raised here my whole life. I'm indoctrinated within the culture. So even though I want to go as an African, I know that there's a part of me that's been Americanized. And even though this man probably loves this woman and sees beyond her culture, there is a part of him that's been indoctrinated into his privilege. So ironically, after her and she was starting to get upset. And I said, sweetie, I was somebody says, sis, I'm not trying to upset you. I just want you to look at the experience. She said, okay. And I said, okay, have a good day. And I got into my car. And as I got into my car, I called my husband. Who else am I going to call my husband? And as I'm on the phone with my husband, me and this guy lock eyes. And for the first time, I saw fear. Because I had the conversation in front of his car. He didn't come out. He didn't roll down that window. And then it occurred to me, he probably thinks I'm calling somebody the way in our communities we call somebody, right? Back in the day, if you had a problem with somebody, you called somebody, and that somebody came. And I said, this man probably thinks I'm calling somebody on him. And that was not the case. I was calling someone because I was upset. Because even with my privilege as a speaker, a teacher, an educator, a trainer, a therapist, a mother, a homeowner, a business owner, even all of my privilege, when it comes down to it, racism doesn't care about your privilege. Because there's privilege in the subjugation. And I know for a lot of us, we talk about anti-racism, right? We do practices. But what I do know is that when COVID ended and last year, the Supreme Court decided that anti-racism initiatives weren't really needed. So a lot of the anti-racism departments closed. Are we doing enough work to make a difference? Are we having the uncomfortable conversations? Because when her and I were dialoguing, I realized she was code switching. And usually when you speak with someone within your culture, let's say you're from the Pakistan culture, you're going to talk within your culture. You're a Muslim. You're talking within your culture. And I realized that when she was speaking with me, she wasn't speaking within our culture. She was speaking in a way that was safe. She was speaking in a way that was educated. And I'm educated. But she was speaking in a way that she was defending the experience and explaining the experience so that no one else would see her as a bad person because a woman with an afro almost got hit. And code switching is the way we do survival. And I recognize code switching because most people of color know how to code switch. You do it at work. You do it when you go to a doctor's appointment. You do it when you're trying to get a job. You do the safe behaviors where you only show a little bit of yourself and you really hold back on what you really think. So the question is, what needs to change? Do we need to have more discussions? Do we need to make sure that it's implemented at work more so that when people go to work, they can come home? Do we put it in the school systems? Because critical race theory is seen as a boogeyman, but all it is talks about the legacy of racism and how it gets institutionalized and looks like red line communities. Or it looked like a woman with an afro being almost hit. Right? And people being seen as good people of color and not so good people of color. People of color with value and not so value. People who are safe and not safe. Right? So part of the anti-racist thing I want you to think about was, when was the last time that you lived like an anti-racist? When you educated someone. Because if I can go back, I would have been able not to educate her, but educate him. But my thinking was, if I educate her about the behavior, it's going to trickle to her educating him about just looking at what was being activated when he was going back and forth with me and being disrespectful and not recognizing that he was scaring me. What got activated when he watched two women of color have a conversation and her justifying his behavior, right? Because when we do anti-racist practices, we do it in a way that it doesn't shame people, but it lets them know that, wow, you're in the history of America. You're living what you've learned. You're acting it out. You're living it out. So I want to challenge you. What do anti-racist practices look like for you? What does equity look like for you? What does inclusion look like for you? And what does shame look like for you? Because shame allows us to be small. And whenever you add shame, you cover up a truth. You don't see who people are. You just see what you're afraid of. So I want you to think about that as my eyelash is about to fall off. So I'm going to end this soon. But I just want to leave you with that. And I know next week we're going to talk more about code switching. The topic is, a girlfriend gave me this topic. The topic is, are we code switching in order to reduce harm reduction? And I was like, oh, that's a good topic. She said, the hot topic was really, are we voting to reduce harm reduction? Like, I'm not voting for the best person. I'm just voting for to reduce harm reduction. And I was like, wow, are we living a life of harm reduction? Do we marry people based on harm reduction? Like, he may not be, or he or she, or they may not be the best people. They do the least amount of harm. Are we setting your jobs for harm reduction? So maybe that's the topic, harm reduction. Is it running your life? Leave comments below. Tell me what you think. But if you're going to change the world, live like an anti-racist. Do the hard work. Call people out. And even call yourself out. Only look at the parts of you that still hold on to parts that may not honor society, that might be outdated. Now I got to go because my eyelashes really are coming off for real. Take care and be good. If you're looking for a therapist, please visit me at CandiceRDickens.com. If you're looking for a resource for trauma agencies, trauma organizations, international and domestic, please visit coloroftraumaandhealing.com and have a wonderful day. Bye.